Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and as John Campea calls me, your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, with this, the very last, the last John Campea Show mailbag. Now, I can't help but take this personally. I want you all to know it's been wonderful doing these mailbags. We got something to replace it, though, which we'll talk about. Well, soon. You'll find out about it soon. But for now, apparently our operatives around the world that were taking your questions and comments 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, have apparently all left. So the mailbags will end. So let's make this one a good one. Right, Ray? Mm-hmm. Okay, Ray. Ray's with me. And, of course, Jonathan Voico, our producer, is producing the show. Jonathan, why don't you start me off right? Chanticleer says, one of my favorite movies were Rover Dangerfield and Rock-a-Doodle. They're both cartoons, by the way, and I don't see these babies nowhere. Have you heard of them? And what are your thoughts on these cartoon movies? Thanks. Chanticleer, I'm starting off badly. I have not seen either one of these films. I don't know them. I don't know them at all, and I feel like you've just wasted your time and efforts on me. And I failed you. I failed you miserably. I've not seen either one, and I don't know those movies. Does one of them star Rodney Dangerfield? Not sure. Any one of you guys seen these movies? Never? No one knows anything.
Rock-a-doodle, but...
Rock-a-doodle. All right. Rock-a-doodle-doo. I am very sorry, Chanticleer. I can't help you, but I wish you the best. Brandon M. 1 of 4. Greetings, John Campea Show crew. John, thank you for reminding us all why movies and stories are the magic which connect us all. Rob, thank you for reminding us of the importance of creativity and inspiring me to pursue my dream of becoming a writer. I love that. As a first-time writer to the John Campea Show, my question is for the Duke of Dope Discourse himself. Thank you, Jesus. I can finally not disappoint somebody. Rob, with Russell T. Davies returning as writer and showrunner for the upcoming season of Doctor Who, along with David Tennant reprising his role as the Doctor for the 60th anniversary, I would imagine, what are your expectations? What do you hope to see? I'm also currently in the process of writing 2 original Doctor Who stories that I hope to have the opportunity to publish upon completion. One of the stories features a fierce, decorated galactic war hero named after you, Rob. Are you kidding me? So I was crying before, but now I'm going to cry tears of joy. I'm going to joygasm all over everybody now. Thank you for that. That's a great honor. Thank you for inspiring me and for all the hard work of the great John Campea crew. Keep bringing on the filthy, and the Batman Beyond crew unite. Well, Brandon, I'm going to be able to bring you a lot of good news in the coming weeks, because wait till you hear the Batman Beyond crew is going to be taken to a level of stratospheric heights we have never seen before. So yes, first of all, that's very kind of you. Thank you. I think John would also say that one of the great hopes when we are doing the show is that we do inspire people to explore their own creativity and to because I've always believed, a lot of people as I've grown up have disagreed with me on this, but I think as fans, I've been a movie fan my whole life, and I've written for magazines and reported on movies. I've made films, but I think it's important that you channel our great love of these things into creative efforts of our own. And it sounds like you've done that, and that's fantastic. So kudos to you. I can't wait to see the results of that. So send those in. I want to read your script, especially if I'm a character. But as far as Russell T. Davies goes, I'm a huge Russell T. Davies fan. I loved his work on Doctor Who. But I don't know if I'm going off on a tangent. I think my favorite thing he did in the Who universe is Torchwood Children of Earth. Those 5 episodes, man. I think those 5 episodes, quote unquote, the 3rd season, is some of the finest televised science fiction of the last 20 years. I mean, I'd never seen Torchwood. I mean, I'd seen Captain Jack because I have a man crush on John Barrowman. I'd seen Captain Jack within the framework of Doctor Who, but I'd never watched Torchwood before. So people are saying, oh, you should watch Torchwood Children of Earth. I'm like, eh. And then when it came out on Blu-ray, I bought it. And I sat down. It was like 1 o'clock at night. And I'm like, I'm just going to sample this. Of course, I stayed up all night and watched all 5 episodes, all 5 hours. I was blown away. I thought it was incredible. So to have Russell T. Davies come back to Doctor Who, I think is very exciting. And, David Tennant he's so great. I've always loved him. I loved him as Kilgrave. I loved him in Broadchurch, and I loved him as Doctor Who. So I think it's fantastic that he's coming back, and really, really exciting stuff. What are my expectations? I don't know. I mean, they've really messed up the Doctor Who canon, and I don't know how they're going to fix all that. But if anyone can do it, Russell T Davies can do it. So I'm really excited. I mean, I just want to see great Doctor Who stories, and I want to see the same scope that he brought to Children of Earth. I would like to see him bring back to Doctor Who, because I really loved his run. So I'm excited to see them both come back.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, John.
Did you tell people that this is the last mailbag?
I did.
Okay, good. I want to make sure.
Yes, I even cried a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, John wanted me to make sure. I did. I cried a little bit. And told everyone I let them down. No, I cried. It was an emotional cry, too. Brandon, thank you very much. Brandon was very complimentary of us, and he was inspired to start his own writing because of the show.
Oh, yay.
So John just heard that from the horse's mouth. Warm Donuts sends in a tip and says, what is IDC? I don't care what nobody says. Matilda is top 5 best movie ever. I'm not interested in this new musical one coming out, and that soundtrack or score, I don't know the difference. Man, I love Matilda. Now that I'm older, I'll say it. Miss Honey can get it. Thanks. Well, you know what? I'm not going to disagree with you. I think Matilda's a fine film. Not really my speed now, but I would never tell somebody, as John always says, movies are subjective. And if you love Matilda, and if you think that Miss Honey can get it, who am I to say no? I'm glad you love a movie as much as you seem to love Matilda, because I think that's a great thing, and we need more of that in the world. So I am not going to yuck your yum or say anything bad about Matilda, ever. I will say that I don't own it on Blu-ray. That's all I can say. Anonymous sends in a tip and says, I'm hearing some reactions on House of the Dragon screening that it's even more serious in tone than even Game of Thrones. This is interesting, considering Game of Thrones was very serious. What are your thoughts? Well, first of all, I prefer my medieval court intrigue serious. And I think, it'll be interesting to see, because I like the idea of a civil war within a family. And the Targaryens going at each other. I mean, that just seems to me to be. I find that just the premise something delicious, and I think what's interesting about Game of Thrones, like you had the Stark family. I've always thought of Game of Thrones as really being the story of the Stark family, and you had that familial element. Like when you first met the Starks, it was kind of all warm and fuzzy, and it was the Lannisters that came in and threw Bran out the window, and you're like, what the hell is this? But I did think that there was more of a, I mean, that was pretty serious, but maybe that there's not so much tonal shifts in this. But I'm all for it. I mean, I think Game of Thrones should be serious, and I mean, it was downright apocalyptic in season 8. The world was coming to an end, literally. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. William Riker. I know he's old now, but this guy doesn't get enough credit. I noticed if his movies are on, I'll watch them. Rather, I'm locked in, or rather it's background noise. Nobody talks about him enough. Give it up for Ben Stiller, ladies and gentlemen. You know what? I'm a big Ben Stiller fan. I mean, I think that most of the movies that he's been in are great. We were talking about Tropic Thunder just yesterday on the show, and he wrote and directed that. And I'm a huge Ben Stiller fan. It's funny. You go all the way back to something like Reality Bites. And I always had a problem with that movie, because in that movie you're supposed to sympathize with Ethan Hawke, with Handsome Hawk, but it's really it's Ben Stiller who's trying to help Winona Ryder out and get her the job at MTV and all that, or working on, and Ethan Hawke is like this slacker douchebag, and you're supposed to not like Ben Stiller. And I remember walking out of Reality Bites going, why do you guys not like Ben Stiller? I mean, he's the guy that, but So I even liked Ben Stiller in Reality Bites when you weren't even supposed to. So, and he's had a good long career. He's been doing it for 30 years. So good on you, Ben Stiller. And let's see more movies from you. Bob Gray says, hey crew, after watching Prey, I rewatched Predator. I have to say, even though the action and story holds up, the CGI is just bad compared to modern CGI we use now. Hence why I believe a lot of people will see Prey as their best Predator movie. Well, Bob, you know what? I think you're probably not wrong about that. I think that modern audiences, and this is not to put down younger people, although, I'm going to put down younger people. We're so used to seeing the perfection of modern effects work now that it's really hard to go back and watch substandard effects and look past it. To me, like, I still love watching Ray Harryhausen stop motion movies like Jason and the Argonauts with the skeleton battle at the end. I think it's awesome. There's a lot of people that are like, that's so fake, because we have such great effects now. And I think that's unfortunate. But you're right. You go back and you look at a Predator was 87? And you go look back at the Predator vision and things like that, and it does look, it looks dated. And I understand that, but it doesn't hamper my enjoyment of the film. I just kind of, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, this was done at this time, so it doesn't bother me. I mean, Predator's 35 years old, so it doesn't bother me, but I don't think that you're wrong. I think that a lot of people are going to look at the modern Prey, and it will work for them because it doesn't have any of that telltale dated effects stuff in it. So, yeah. Marina Cervantes says, hey guys, what are your expectations for Mickey 7, the next Bong Joon-ho film? Robert Pattinson movie, just started filming. Well, I'm a huge Bong Joon-ho fan, and it's a science fiction film, and it's based on a science fiction novel. I hope it's great. I'm sure it will be great. I don't think he's capable of making a bad movie. And, I secretly suspect that Robert Pattinson likes science fiction movies because he was in, it wasn't Life. He was in the Claire Denis science fiction film, High Life. I think it was called High Life. He was great in that. And, of course, the Batman. I think that, and he's working, Robert Pattinson working with world-class filmmakers now, and I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. I need to read that book that it's based on. I want to read the book before the movie comes out. So I'm down. Hope it's great. Terry McGinnis. Hi, Rob. Well, hello, Terry. I wanted to send this on the live show, but I was afraid John would get angry. Today, 8/8/22, is International Cat Day. I recently adopted a friendly, talkative, stray male black kitten, and I want to name him Geo, if that's okay. Meow. Terry, if you're going to name a cat after John, I can't think of any greater honor that you could do him. And I want you to send us pictures about that cat all the time. I want you to tell John how great it is to own a cat and how much joy the cat brings you. And I think you should write in probably on a daily basis and just give us updates about your cat, Geo, because I know how much John would appreciate it and love it. And you know how much he would love it, too. But congratulations on getting a cat. We have a cat, Skippy John Jones. I've loved cats all my life. My mom is still a crazy cat lady at 83, and she had 2 cats. One of her cats died. And I love cats. I think they're great. And I like their aloof nature. So congratulations on your new family member. Gary says, hey, crew, I've been hearing rumors that Disney has been trying to get the rights for Dragon Ball Z. Have you been hearing these rumors, and do you think the rumors are true or false? Thanks, and have a good day. Well, you know what? If they want to do an American remake of Dragon Ball Z, I could see that Disney is the place to do it. I have not heard this, but it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, when they started bringing Miyazaki movies, Disney was putting them out, like Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Disney took over the Dragon Ball Z franchise. Although, if they made a domestic Dragon Ball Z, would it have the same punch, so to speak? I don't know. But I haven't heard the rumor, but I think Disney would be a good home for it. Emily in quotes, legal question. If a party holds a writing that the author still owns, then can the party legally share the writing with another party without the author's permission? Not sharing it to sell, but more or less just showing it to an indiscriminate one. If a party holds, that sounds to me like if an author will always own his own or her own work or their own work. Are you saying it's somebody that that's written something and you've taken it, you want to show it to somebody else. I mean, nobody can prevent you from doing that. It's not illegal. They can't rip, but if they were to rip it off or something, that's different. But you could show, I mean, it sounds like you're asking, can I show a book that somebody wrote to a friend of mine? And the answer is yes. There's nothing legal about it, unless did you steal their work and they don't know it? Is it a friend of yours? I mean, that could be a dicey situation for you personally, but it's not illegal technically, unless you stole it from them, in which case, I guess, but they'd have to prove damages and things like that. So, yeah, interesting question. Odyssey says Bullet Train is the best live-action anime adaptation, and it isn't even an anime, but it is based on a book by a Japanese author. I really want to see it. I probably will go see it this afternoon. Can't wait. And I'm glad to hear that because it looks great and it looks very anime-esque. It even kind of looks, when I say it, mean it not, when you say it looks good, I mean it actually, the look of it looks very anime-esque. So I'm in. Count me in. Can't wait to see it. John said it's very entertaining. Your Name says, how many young kids like me got their first wet dream after watching Olivia Newton-John in Grease? Well, I don't know if it was my first, but it inspired many. And not just dreams. I was actively participating, thinking about Olivia Newton-John, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, at the end, she was beautiful as nice, squeaky clean Sandy. She was so cute. But when she shows up in the leather, tell me about it, stud. Come on. I think we all had wet dreams right then and there, seeing that movie for the first time. Of course, I was in the theater, so I hope that didn't happen to me. I can't remember. But anyway, I'm right there with you, 100%. What about you, Ray? Did she give you a wet dream, Olivia Newton-John in Grease?
Ray's like, no comment.
It's nothing to say about that. Okay, well. Following that up, the Filthy Fella asks a question. One of two. Wagwan, I'm 18 and growing up, my dad used to love showing me all of the classics from when he was a kid, like The Great Escape or Force 10 from Navarone. They were simple enough for a kid like me to understand, yet are still excellent to me today. What films from the last 20 years do you think people my age will be showing their kids? I've seen many films that have blown me away and I've loved, yet I can't put a finger on one that replicates the feeling I get when I watch one of my dad's classics. Well, Filthy Fella, there's so many things I want to say to you about this. First of all, you've got a great dad. Second of all, you've got great taste. And I'll tell you something. I have a theory about this, and like you, I don't know if a lot of our entertainment, especially movies from the last 20 years, I mean, obviously you'll have the Marvel films and all that, but standalone movies, the films that you mentioned, like The Great Escape, that was a heady, frothy mix of great characters and a great story. And those stories are not, The Great Escape, you've got soldiers trapped in a prisoner of war camp, and they have to plot their great escape to get out. And you have powerhouse actors, and the actors that are in Great Escape, not just Steve McQueen, but all the other actors, they're almost like, we don't have people like that anymore. I mean, these are manly men doing manly men things. They were prisoners of war, and so they were off to war in the first place. I just think that movies nowadays, there's a simplicity to those movies where you really understood there was not any moral ambiguity. Everybody kind of knew what they were supposed to do, and you as the audience understood, okay, the movie was about how are these guys that were all, they made you love these guys, and how are they all going to escape? And then what happens to them when they do? And I think that those films are in their simplicity, they become irresistible. And we don't have, I mean, first of all, nobody's telling stories about World War II very much anymore because we're too far away. I mean, when The Great Escape was made, I don't remember the date it came out. I want to say it was early 60s. I think it was early 60s. But you were not very far away from the end of World War II. So everybody really understood what was going on. Same with the Guns of Navarone or Force 10 from Navarone. It was the same kind of thing. And we don't have that anymore. We don't even understand what it means to be our military or people going off to war. We haven't even had a war, like call it the just war or whatever. It's just a different world. And I think that our current world now, we're so all over the place that I don't think we can. You don't have the kind of agreement. Like when you went and saw The Great Escape, you knew why every one of those characters was a hero. And I don't necessarily think we live in that world anymore. So I don't know if we're going to have the, and also people don't look at movies the way they looked at movies back then. Movies don't mean as much to culture as they do now. I mean, sure, you have these big franchises, but movies is entertainment, especially for young people. You've got a lot more choices now. And unless you're introduced to things by your folks, you might not ever have that feeling about movies because kids today are video games and TikToking and all that other stuff. So it's just a different time. And I think that there was something about storytelling from that time that was just sort of irresistible. Sam Fisher, 1 of 5. Oh, I love this question. Sam goes on, he says, I watched The Sandman this weekend and I loved it. I love Tom Sturridge's portrayal as well as Stephen Fry and Jenna Coleman and Boyd Holbrook, but Kirby Howell-Baptiste stole the show for me. I think episode 6 is my favorite episode of genre TV this year, but I have no idea if it was because of death or Hob-gaddling. I really would love to see a spinoff of either Joanna Constantine, Death, or Hob. After episode 6, it does fall downhill for me a little. I found myself not really caring about Rose and her circle. I do agree with you that the color grading was off. Hell looked good, but I wanted the dreaming to be more vibrant and the waking world to look more naturalistic, and the latter two didn't look right. I stopped for a day between episodes 8 and 9, and episode 9 looked better. I haven't gone back to episodes 1 through 8 to see if they were different. I wonder what other changes Gaiman is going to make. Honestly, my biggest wish for this show is that we see how delight became delirium, especially since the world seems to have only gotten crazier since 1989. Do they confirm the theory that she was sexually assaulted by Desire? I can't imagine it was a situation like Dreams, because then shouldn't he have gone crazy and changed? Sam, those are all great questions. First of all, I think something happened when they uploaded it and then they re-uploaded it or something. No one will convince me otherwise. So the look of the show. And I think I really do like the difference. I mean, you're jumping around through time periods, even in episode 6. I mean, we watch basically, 400, 500, 600 years go by. And like you, I thought episode 6, between the sound of her wings and meeting Hob-gaddling, I love that. And those are two of my favorite stories in the comic, early on in the comics. I love that they put those two stories together. It worked so beautifully. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to address. I mean, I love the fact that the series, the series is set in 2021. I mean, I know we go all over time and space, but I like the fact it's just a very different world that we live in now. And I don't know how they're gonna address delirium turning into delight, but I would imagine we will probably see that. I mean, obviously we haven't been introduced to that character. We won't for a little while yet, but yeah, I don't know how they're gonna deal with that. It's going to be interesting to see how they do deal with it. But I'm loving the show, and I understand. Look, the joys and delights of episodes 1 through 6 are certainly there. There's a lot more going on, and like in the comic itself, the Doll's House storyline gave us these different characters, and it was just a different way of telling a story. And I can understand how some people would feel that way. And it's just it's almost like watching a different show. But Sandman always was kind of an anthology, and I really love the way they ended the Doll's House storyline. And I loved seeing the serial killer convention, and I love seeing the Corinthian there, and I loved a lot of that stuff. And Fiddler's Green, Stephen Fry was so good, and that revelation at the end was so beautifully done. And I don't know, man. I'm glad you're digging the show, but it's going to be interesting. I've loved how they've updated the series. Loved it. And, if you're a Sandman fan, you couldn't have asked for a better adaptation. And Sturridge playing Dream is great. Great. Oh, and now the sponsor for the last mailbag, the great earbuds from Raycon.
We want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. Now guys, you've heard me talk about the fact that part of my morning routine is getting on my treadmill, and when I do, I always have my Raycon earbuds there to listen to my podcasts and YouTube videos. I go to them every morning. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever. With optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit, these earbuds are so comfortable and they will not budge. Trust me. Raycon gives you 8 hours of playtime and 32-hour battery life. And the best part for me is that Raycons are priced just right. You get quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands. That's half the price. And with premium features like noise isolation, awareness mode, and I personally love the earbud tap functions, it's perfect for when I'm on the treadmill. So guys, go to buyraycon.com/Campea today and get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/Campea to get 15% off. buyraycon.com/Campea.
Back. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this episode, or this last episode of the John Campea Show Mailbag. Yep. Garrett says, "Frigga to Thor. I was raised by witches, boy. I see more than eyes. You know that." One of my favorite lines from Endgame. Well, there you go. I'm glad that was, I don't know if I did such a great job doing it, but there you go. Stormin Norman. There's a reference you don't hear very often anymore. Giancarlo Esposito would kill it as Professor X. I've seen people say he looks like a villain. Well, okay, so did Daniel Craig, and we got over that right away in Casino Royale. Also, the live chat kept saying he's Latino when he's Black, Italian, and born in Italy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was Italian, but I should have guessed Giancarlo Esposito. Great name. Look, man, I think Giancarlo Esposito is great in anything he's in. I loved him as Gus Fring. I like him in Mandalorian. I mean, and I love him in The Boys as Stan. He can do no wrong. He could play Professor X or Magneto. I would love him in either role because he's awesome. So I'm with you, 100%. Bring him on. Sandhorse says, "I hope the Robert Meyer Burnett machine is operating with 0 defects." Well, that's not for me to say. I let the ladies answer that question. But what are your thoughts on Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch? And so was mentioned in passing the other day, do you think it was an influence on Walter Hill's Extreme Prejudice? Oh, well, first of all, The Wild Bunch is one of the great Westerns of all time. I mean, it's so cool. That movie is so cool. It's so badass. I love The Wild Bunch, and it absolutely, I mean, Walter Hill, it's almost like Walter Hill remakes these classic movies. It's funny that you say that because I just got Extreme Prejudice on Blu-ray, and I can totally see why you would think that. I absolutely think it, in Walter Hill's mind, every one of his movies. I mean, I just got The Warriors on Blu-ray, the original theatrical version. Even The Warriors, they're all like Westerns. I'm a huge Walter Hill fan. I mean, and when he did make Westerns, like The Long Riders, those are great. So I totally think that The Wild Bunch influenced Extreme Prejudice, and you have good taste in film because not a lot of people talk about The Wild Bunch anymore. It's one of those badass movies ever made. But, you know, hopefully young people today, they're looking back. They're looking back at things like The Great Escape. They're looking back at things like The Wild Bunch, and why not? Because those movies are awesome. Thanks for bringing that up. I love talking about movies like The Wild Bunch. And The Great Escape. We're doing good. This mailbag, we're doing good. Touching on the classics. Laura sends in a tip and says, with DC rudderless, here's an idea for a creative visionary to get it going. S.S. Rajamouli, who made RRR. A bit left field, but I think he could capture the mythic timelessness, epic action, and sense of joy Supes and the Justice League need. What do you think? Well, first of all, I would say that's great out-of-the-box thinking. The problem is, I think the cultural differences might prove a little much in terms of navigating the politics, studio politics here in the United States. But I like that thinking. I mean, if not running the entire DCEU, I would love to see him direct a superhero movie because anyone who's seen RRR knows. I mean, come on, or produce a superhero movie. Why not? Because it's a great idea. And I think that Hollywood needs more out-of-the-box thinking like that. But, you know, so often foreign directors, they get successful in their foreign lands and they come here Like the guy who directed RoboCop, the remake of RoboCop. He had done the Elite Force movies, which I love. In Brazil, they bring him to America, and then he gets saddled with doing a remake of RoboCop, and it doesn't do well. And then his American career is sort of, it diminishes, and I hate when that happens. But I think John Woo, one of the great action directors of all time, when he came to America, they interfered with Hard Target. They recut that because they hired John Woo to give you the slow motion, to give you the doves flying, to give you all that John Woo goodness. And then in America, they look at the movie going, what the hell's this? And they recut it. And anybody who's seen the original cut of Hard Target knows it was a better movie. And then, of course, he makes Broken Arrow, and they lock him out of the edit bay. And I hate when they do that. So maybe the guy who directed RRR should stay back in India and maybe we should just watch more Indian movies. But I do like the idea. I like the way you're thinking. And I would love to see whatever you do here, because it'd be awesome. Dust in the Wind says, what movie do you love that's critically panned? Mine is A Knight's Tale. Back then, a handful of critics gave it a thumbs down because they didn't like the classic rock elements despite having a solid story. That's one of the reasons why I love that movie. Well, I mean, they knew what they were doing. A Knight's Tale existed for that very reason. They set out to make the movie they wanted to make with contemporary music. I liked it. I liked A Knight's Tale. I mean, what movie I really like that people hate is the Bruce Willis movie Hudson Hawk. I love Hudson Hawk and Swinging on a Star with Danny Aiello. You've got Sandra Bernhard and Richard E. Grant as the villains. I mean, that movie is completely ridiculous and overblown, but I love it. And I don't care if Bruce Willis is too smug in the movie. I love that movie. And it's considered not a good movie. I mean, I don't know if it's had any kind of critical reassessment over the last decade or so, but I make no apologies for loving Hudson Hawk. But I think you love Knight's Tale all you want, because they made the movie they set out to make, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I like hearing the contemporary music in that setting. It's good. It works. What's wrong? And you know what? It was a trailblazer because people use movies they use contemporary music in period pieces now, I think, more than they ever have. And I think it's because of A Knight's Tale. It was a trendsetter, that movie. Marcus Skiles says, hey, Campea crew, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday. I just turned 27, so I wanted to tip $27, which we very much appreciate, to support the show. I watch you guys every day. Keep up the good work. Well, Marcus, congratulations to making it to 27 years old, and we will take $1 for each year that you've been on this planet. So happy birthday to you. And thanks for thinking about us on your birthday. We should be giving you something. I guess I'm giving you mad props on your birthday. That's all I can give you through the magic of the internet. But happy birthday, sir, and we very much appreciate the generous support of this channel. I know that Ray Ora's over there, and he's like, oh, I can eat today. Oh, there's a chuckle. I elicited a chuckle from him. Well, anyway, but happy birthday again. Super Showgirl 2 says, hi, Rob, you've been a director. You know a lot about the behind the scenes of filming, etc. You read comics for a long time. You are sort of like Kevin Feige. Don't you think you could be Warner Brother DC's Kevin Feige? I reckon you would be perfect for it. Would you do it if they ask? Well, Super Showgirl, first of all, it's very kind of you to say. I would do it, but here's the problem. Let's say, if we game out your scenario, let's say Warner Brothers came to me and put me in charge. Everybody would hate me. Nobody would give me the time of day because I wouldn't have the credibility. I wouldn't have earned that position yet. And I certainly don't know anyone at the studio, so it'd be tough. But assuming all those things were put aside, I mean, I think I could do it, especially because I've actually worked on three, but I was on the set of both X-Men 2 and Superman Returns, mostly through the duration of those productions. On Superman Returns, I was there the whole time it was being made. And it was interesting. I mean, I could definitely, if someone said to me, hey, we expect you to produce a $200 million movie, could you do it? I actually could. I would say, yes, I could. Running an entire, the DCEU, I could do it, but here's the thing. The thing that Kevin Feige has on everyone else, and we've said it on the show a lot, is that he worked in a producing capacity on 14 Marvel movies before he made Iron Man, before the MCU started. So he had those relationships. He'd work with everybody in town. He worked with all the different studios. So he had a level of credibility as a producer that was beyond reproach. There's nobody in Hollywood that had produced 14 or worked as a producer on 14 superhero movies before they started their MCU. And that's why that's why it's so hard. It's going to be so hard to find somebody who's like Kevin Feige to work for DC. And even I, as much as I think I know, I don't have that experience, and I'd be the first person to say it. It'd be great to be in that position. I would be better as a consultant, but Kevin Feige has the real world experience. I haven't had enough, and I have never worked at the level that I would need to work to make myself effective in that position. But I do thank you for thinking that I could do it. That's very nice of you. Good vote of confidence. Calvin Roy Bose says, maybe the best thing that could happen for the Flash film is for Ezra Miller to be in jail. Then he can't do more to hurt the film like he can being out. Oh, I think if there's something you could do in prison that would screw you up, Ezra Miller could figure it out. Yeah, I can only imagine what would happen. But that's kind of funny. Look, it's unfortunate. I think what we really need to be asking ourselves is, how can we get Ezra Miller the help that he needs? He clearly needs some help. We don't know really what's going on there. Maybe he is a crazy narcissist that believes himself a cult leader, in which case he still needs help. So, look, I just hope that Ezra Miller finds what he's looking for. And I really like him as a performer, and I really want to see the Flash movie, and I hope it's great. So let's hope he doesn't do anything more and the movie doesn't get pulled from release, because that would suck. Tim Platt says, a bit of a story here, so bear with me, laugh out loud. I was binge watching Ted Lasso while house dog sitting for my older brother this weekend, when during a funeral scene, I broke down and cried because there was a song used in my older brother's funeral from a couple of months ago. So it's still raw. The dog I was watching then climbed up and started licking my face and snuggled next to me till I felt better. I have a couple of takeaways from Ted Lasso. Dogs are the best. And 2, that gray-haired prick Nate must be destroyed. All in all, another great show recommendation. Thanks. What should be next? Well, Tim, what should be next? The Sandman. Watch The Sandman. Very sorry to hear about your older brother. You know, I did not grow up with dogs. And 4 years ago, we got our first dog. Now we have 3 dogs. We have Gilbert, Tallulah, and Sebastian. And the thing that I marvel at is how empathetic and how much dogs understand about your state of mind and stuff like that, because they absolutely do. And not only do they shower you with affection, but they really are attuned to your moods. And I was very surprised and taken aback by just how attuned they actually are. And I love them for it. And I love my dogs. And I can't believe I didn't grow up with dogs. My mom didn't. My mom liked cats because they're clean and they stick to themselves. But I love dogs. And you're absolutely right. They're amazing. So, and I'm sorry once again to hear about your brother. And in terms of a new show, I mean, Ted Lasso is a comedy. The Sandman is decidedly not. But, if you haven't seen it, Only Murders in the Building is really good. I just started watching that, and that's got a humorous bent to it. Really good show. So check that out. Mark Nadeau says, R.E. the John Campea Show today. Tim Hortons used to sell day-old donuts at the end of the shifts. Yeah, it's a waste. E.T. was good, but Close Encounters came out on the big screen in my town before the Cineplex system came out. It was amazing at the time. I don't know about day-old donuts, but hey, why not? Tim Hortons, absolutely. As far as Close Encounters goes, I saw Close Encounters opening weekend at the King Cinema on 6th Avenue in Seattle. This corner of 6th and Blanchard, there was the UA-150 on one side and the King on the other side. And they were both huge theaters. When Close Encounters opened, Star Wars it opened in more toward the holidays in 1977. And there was lines stretched down either side of the street to go see Star Wars and to go see Close Encounters. And I'll never forget, if you remember Close Encounters, it starts out with the John Williams score. It's like, ooh. And then you just hear the that big, and then it opens in the Sonora Desert and the wind blowing. Man, I was like, whoa, that movie was incredible. Seeing that movie on the big screen was definitely an experience. And, I think it was that 1-2 punch of seeing Star Wars and then just a mere, I think 5 months later, seeing Close Encounters. And as I was 10 years old, and I'm telling you, man, that's what really cemented my love of movies and the idea that I could someday maybe go make one or work in Hollywood or something. Man, did I love Close Encounters on the big screen. But you are right. It's still a fantastic movie. I mean, it's different than E.T. E.T. is more personal, but Close Encounters has a sweeping scope, and the end is just killer. I love that movie. I want to go watch it. I have it on 4K disc. I'm sure that surprises no one. Magnus Mikey Carlson sends in a tip and says, if Ezra is convicted, he will be a felon. Do you still don't believe that Warner Brothers Discovery will release the movie if he gets convicted? Well, I mean, here's the thing. He would be a felon, but Hollywood is not exactly the place where people aren't felons. There's been many a person who's worked in the Hollywood industry who's been convicted of felonies. And right now he's got a burglary charge, and really he just stole a few bottles of booze. Now, I'm not saying that was something that was a good thing to do, and breaking and entering burglary is probably, it's bad. It's bad. But, I don't think that Warner Brothers would pull the release of a $200 million movie because somebody got a felony conviction for stealing booze. I don't think so. But one never knows. Collectively, I think Ezra Miller's crimes, it points to a pattern of behavior that could be dangerous to himself and other people. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I hope he gets the help he needs and he's on the straight and narrow. So let's hope so. Sam Fisher. Sam Fisher says, I know we talk about what a great guy Tom Cruise is, but I would like to point out that Christian Bale said he based Patrick Bateman on a Tom Cruise interview with Letterman where he was all smiles and joy, but completely dead behind the eyes. Well, yeah, that could be true, but I've actually met Tom Cruise and spoke to him for about an hour. I was very impressed with him. And most people I think that I've talked to that have worked with him, a good friend of mine who I co-produced Agent Cody Banks with was Nicole Kidman's assistant for a long time, and she is very fond of them and had a lot of great things to say. So I think, look, when celebrities are out shilling for their movies or projects that they're working on, I think a lot of the time they're dead behind the eyes because it's a job for them. When they're on interview shows, sometimes I can understand not being as engaged as you might want to be. But I didn't know that about Patrick Bateman being based on Tom Cruise from a Letterman interview. Now I want to go find the interview and watch it. Man, do I love American Psycho. It's great. Daniel Mools says, hi, Rob or John. Thanks for your brilliant insight on a previous question, Light and Magic Doc, as a proud citizen of the UK. I get frustrated sometimes with the portrayals of English people. Laugh out loud. What stereotypes do you get annoyed with? All Canadians being friendly? Well, you know what's so funny? I think Americans, we have a natural, I believe that anybody with an English accent is inherently smarter than I am. Unless it's Cockney slang or something. Here in America, we do believe that. I think we believe everybody from England is smarter than we are, just because if they speak with a fine accent, we want to believe that they're smarter than we are. So I don't even know if that was a very good English accent. But hey, in terms of stereotypes, what stereotypes do I get tired of most stereotypes now because I think they're cheap and easy. I think that most people are more, I can tell you about movie stereotypes I can't stand. Like when somebody's going to a big meeting in front of a business, they're going to a downtown, like a city. They're in the middle of New York City or they're middle of LA and they're going to a meeting and there's an empty parking space right in front of where they're going to. I hate that. I know why people do that for narrative expediency, but it never happens. And I hate when that happens. I'm like, As the viceroy of verisimilitude, I call bullshit on that. I don't like that when that happens. But in terms of people and stereotypes, I think that older stereotypes are offensive, and we now know that the world is a much better place. And at least I hope we're a little bit more cognizant of that fact. I just don't like any stereotypes about people. Not really. I think it's lazy storytelling. Daniel Mools is back and says, hi from the UK. I've just seen the Banshees of Inisherin trailer and cannot wait. Big fan of In Bruges and Three Billboards. What are your thoughts? Also, if you haven't seen, please watch Dead Man's Shoes. It's very British, laugh out loud, but very good. Thanks for all that you do. I loved the trailer. First of all, Brendan Gleeson, when he just decides I'm not going to talk anymore to, I don't know what the character's name is. I don't know, Colin Farrell. I'm just not going to talk to him anymore. I love that idea. I mean, it made me, I'm like, wow, I wonder if there's people like that in my life. I'm just not going to talk to them anymore and just not explain it and just not do it. It looks great to me. I haven't seen Dead Man's Shoes, but that trailer looked really, really good. I can't wait to see the movie. I just thought the premise was hilarious. And I, too, love In Bruges. I have a great special edition of that on Blu-ray as well. I love In Bruges. And I like Three Billboards. I thought that was really good, too. And go Martin. I can't wait to see that movie. Garden Variety Vagabond says, team, I've been watching Neil Gaiman's The Sandman, and I am loving it. I am left with a curious mental hypothesis. It would be intriguing to see Matt Ryan, Tom Ellis, and Leslie Ann Brandt as Constantine, Lucifer Morningstar, and Mazikeen in the roles. Oh, John, they didn't go with John Constantine because as a previously existing character that Alan Moore created, I believe in the Pages of Swamp Thing. I was talking to John about this today. I mean, to see if they could have put Lucifer in that role. I don't know if it would work, but I would love to see that. I think that the Lucifer Morningstar in the Lucifer series was great. He's great, but it doesn't fit in with the Sandman universe. That Lucifer is a more lyrical person. And I did feel that Gwendolyn Christie, not because she's a female, but there was more of a matronly quality to her, like a motherly quality to that Lucifer, which I actually liked. It's going to be interesting to see how they do a Season of Mists. I can't wait to see how they pull that off. But you're right. I mean, see, the characters came right out of the comic, so it would have been interesting to see them. I don't know if they would work. I mean, Constantine would probably work, but I don't know if Lucifer and Mazikeen from the Lucifer show would fit in with the tone of that Sandman. But I'd watch it. Sam Fisher says, I rewatched Forrest Gump this weekend, and do you know what I realized? The scene where Forrest asks if his son is smart, he was about to say, is he like me? Which means that Forrest knows about his low IQ. He wasn't ignorant to his condition, like we assume. Oh, I've always thought that about Forrest Gump. He's very aware of who and what he is. And I love that moment. By the way, speaking of Forrest Gump, there is an Indian, I kid you not, a Bollywood remake of Forrest Gump that comes out in the first week of September, I think. I saw a trailer for it. People have been writing me about this, and I want to watch that. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-hour-long Bollywood film with musical numbers or not, but no kidding. They're even crediting the original screenwriter for the script because it was based on the original script. So I think it's Eric Roth? But yeah, so check that out. Forrest Gump seems to be in the air and everywhere these days, to the point where the Indians have remade it. We're going to get a Bollywood remake of Forrest Gump, and I believe Paramount's even releasing it in theaters here. I think. So check that out. Jonathan Namila says, hello, Robert John. I really miss Lindsay Lohan in the big movie franchises. I would love to see Lindsay Lohan make a huge comeback as a Marvel superhero or a DC superhero. I love Lindsay Lohan. I mean, I loved her like in Mean Girls. I loved her in Freaky Friday. It was not Freaky Friday. It was The Parent Trap. I loved her. I thought she was great. I don't know, fame got to her, but I think we're going to see, I don't know if she'll be in a franchise superhero movie, but she's kind of on the comeback trail. I saw that she's in something recently or some big thing. I'd love to see Lindsay Lohan come back because I'm a huge fan of hers. I loved her movies when she was younger. So, yeah, bring it on. And Jonathan comes back to say, hello, Rob. I hope Ezra Miller gets the help they need. But until then, I think it's best they take a break from making movies until they're ready to change for the better. I wish Ezra Miller all the luck in the world. Well, Jonathan, I don't think I could have said it better myself. I completely agree with you. I hope they do get the help they need. And because I've always loved Ezra Miller as a performer. Love them. I love them in we'll have to talk about Kevin. I love them in Perks of a the Perks of Being a Wallflower. I love them in I love them as the Flash. So all my best for Ezra Miller, and I appreciate your sentiment there. So thanks for that, Jonathan. You and I park our shuttles in the same shuttle bay. Rocco C says, hi, probably Rob, or maybe John. Well, it is me. It's probably Rob. I am probably Rob, so thank you for that. In general, there are Marvel fans, there are DC fans, and there are Batman fans. With the uncertainty of DC on film at WB, what can we definitively say and speculate about the future of the Matt Reeves, the Batman universe? You know what? I think that movie was so well received, and it did very well. It didn't make $1 billion, but I still think, it made more money than Batman Begins made, and I think people really like that film. I think it has a lot of rewatchability, so I think he is going to be able to continue his own Bat universe. They've announced that they're making a sequel. I think it's going to happen. Obviously, we don't know who is going to be in it. The villain, maybe the Joker, maybe Clayface, who knows? But I think we're definitely going to get a new Batman film. Look, I think we're going to get a Batman trilogy. Pattinson's going to make 3 movies, I think. But in terms of speculation, all I can say is I know we're going to get another one, and I, for one, can't wait. I think whatever problems DC has, well, they'll get over it. So, indeed. Ooh, okay. Ethan Holgate, 1 of 5. I'm going to have to take a swig. By the way, non-alcoholic. Hi, Rob. Dublin Comic-Con was on August 6th and 7th this summer. I went on the 6th, and my friend and I have gone together for the past 3 years. Man, it was such a blast. I would have wrote in right afterwards, but as you can guess, I was pretty broke, laugh out loud. But you'll never guess who was there. Queen Maeve herself. First thing I said was, it's so cool to meet you, Maeve. I could have said, F you soup, C-word, but she was nice to do that. So she was too nice to do. Would you have really said that to her? Come on, man. But I guess, you can employ the C-word more on your side of the pond than our side of the pond, because if you call anybody the C-word here, them's fighting words. But she was too nice to do that too. So I said, no, you know what, Maeve? You've been very bold. Maybe we should harvest your eggs. And she replied, I know. When I read that, I was like, oh my God. I said, Eric Kripke is a madman. She said, yep, I wouldn't want to be in his head, laugh out loud. Also, I couldn't help but call her Maeve the whole time, laugh out loud. But she was such a joy to meet. Lovely person. That's not all. I also met Peter Weller, RoboCop himself, and he was a very cool guy. He signed my Arrow RoboCop Blu-ray. Well, first of all, that Arrow RoboCop Blu-ray rules, so good for you for having that. He signed my Arrow RoboCop Blu-ray. I mentioned how much of a Paul Verhoeven fan I am, and I also asked him if he ever met Neil Blomkamp about his rumored RoboCop sequel. He said he did meet and talk to him about it, but he pulled out of directing it, which is unfortunate because I would have wanted to see that. Curious if you were to meet Dominic McElliott, Queen Maeve, and Peter Weller, what would you say and ask them? That's a good question. I mean, I'd probably ask, first of all, Dominic McElliott. I'm missing out on that because did you say you met Dominic McElliott? I don't know who that is. I'm drawing a blank on that. Queen Maeve, I would love to meet her. I just ask her about what it's like to work on that show. And like you said, that she said that being in Eric Kripke's head. Dominic McElliott, that's her name, Queen Maeve. Got it. Okay, I didn't realize that her name was Dominic McElliott. Now I know. Dominic McElliott, Queen Maeve. So I would ask her what it's like to get those scripts. Like when they got the Herogasm episode, or when they got the episode where the termite explodes in the urethra of his lover. I mean, what did they think? What is it like to get those scripts for the actors? That's what I want to know. I mean, do they call each other on the phone going, oh my God, did you read this? So that's what I would have asked her. And in terms of Peter Weller, I'm a huge Peter Weller fan. I probably would have asked him about working with David Cronenberg on the movie Naked Lunch, which was a adaptation of the William Burroughs book. But he's a really smart guy. He's like got a PhD, and I probably would have asked if I could buy him a beer and take him out and just hang out with him and talk, because he seems like a really interesting cat. I'd ask him also about Buckaroo Banzai. Come on, Peter Weller, Buckaroo Banzai. He's the leader of the Hong Kong Cavaliers. I would have to ask him about that. What was it like to work with that cast? So, yeah, he's done so much cool stuff. I'm a huge Peter Weller fan. Dexter Bamington says Sony announced that they would re-release Spider-Man No Way Home in September as the More Fun Stuff version. It was announced that tickets would go on sale yesterday, but nothing. Wondering if you had heard anything. Thanks for all that you do. Dexter, I heard that they were doing that, but I haven't heard anything since then. I knew it was going to come out in early September, but other than that, I haven't heard anything. Have you guys heard anything about that, gentlemen? About Spider-Man? Nope, they're shaking their heads. They don't know. I don't know if they've pulled it. I don't know what's going on with that. We shall soon find out, though. Thanks for putting that on my radar. Now I'm going to want to know. I'm going to have to go online and answer this question myself. I want to know the answer. So I don't want to see it. Mighty Mateo sends in a tip and says, John, how can you be so confident that David Zaslav knows what a good movie is? His entire career has been in TV and mostly in reality TV. Mighty Mateo, that's a great question. But I would say this. As John Campea once said, well, he said this about an hour ago because he told me about your question. He did. He singled it out. He said, you know, that David Zaslav probably doesn't know much about the shows, the reality shows that have been on Discovery. But what he does know about is how to hire the best people for the jobs. The fact that, I mean, I don't think he's ever made a feature film before, but he got Alan Horn to come back to Warner Brothers to consult with him. So I think any great business leader or any great leader, you always go and consult the best people you can find to do these jobs. And that's what David Zaslav is doing. He's going and getting the best minds he can because he knows that you can't, it takes a village to run a studio. So that's what I think he's doing. And I think that shows where his leadership ability lies. And the fact that he's not messing around, he's not taking any prisoners, he's making big, bold moves, and he's hiring the best people. I mean, to go out and get Alan Horn was a very smart thing to do. And I think that we're going to start seeing great movies coming out from Warner Brothers. Not that they haven't always made great movies, but they've been hit and miss lately. And I think we're going to see great things coming from Mr. Zaslav, but that's what a leader does. You know, you find the best people to work on these projects, and he seems to be doing just that. So I think we're going to see a lot of great movies coming out from Warner Brothers because he's going to go get the best people to make them. And I think that's what people should do. I mean, after all, you can run a studio without knowing how to make movies because you hire great people to come in that you know can make great films for you. And I think that's a skill. That's what a great leader does. A great leader delegates to people that he knows or she knows or they know can really do their jobs to the best of their ability. So it's a good question, though. Thanks for writing in and asking. Bob Gray says, hey, crew, any updates on what's happening with the Dark Universe? Dracula and the Mummy were not great. So are they still going to continue, or can we expect a reset? I would love a Monsters universe, but it must be done right. Well, Bob, I got to tell you, I think Blumhouse has taken that mantle because Lee Whannell's The Invisible Man was really great. And they made The Invisible Man for $8 million, and that was a reinvention. And The Invisible Man was definitely part of the Dark Universe. And that movie made like $100 million on an $8 million spend. I think that's the way to do it. I think if Blumhouse keeps giving us movies like The Invisible Man, they can reinvent these classic Universal monsters. And then I know they've tried to make a Creature from the Black Lagoon movie forever, but I would love to see that happen. Why do you have to spend a ton of money on these movies and then they don't work? I mean, and also, why is it that now I understand the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies and now the Alex Kurtzman Mummy movie, but what was great about the Universal monsters, the classic monsters, is that it wasn't an apocalypse in every movie. I mean, at the end, of course, Frankenstein gets chased and burned up, and you have the townspeople. But a lot of those movies, like The Mummy, it's one monster and it was just a few people. It was more intimate, and I think that was that was kind of the tactic that Lee Whannell took for Invisible Man, where you basically had one guy chasing after one girl, and it was great. And Elizabeth Moss was great. And I think that might be the way to go, rather than trying to make these huge, giant apocalyptic movies where the entire planet is threatened or the entire city is threatened. I think Blumhouse is the way to go, and they should keep doing that. Kyle Schneider says, hey, John and crew, Five Nights at Freddy's is my most anticipated movie ever. What are your predictions on how much the film will make opening weekend? And when do you think we will finally see it released? Well, that's a tough one. I would imagine if they're working on it now, we'll probably see it not in 2 years. We're going to see it sometime. Here's my prediction. October of 2023. I have no reason to think that other than the fact that why wouldn't you release it in October around Halloween? Because it would be fun to see that. It'd be a great movie. And how much money is it going to make? I think it's going to make more money than people might expect. I wouldn't be surprised if the movie's good, if it made deep. I mean, is a movie like that going to make $100 million? Maybe. I would be conservative. I don't think it's going to make $300 million. It's going to make, let's say, $150 million domestic. That's my box office prediction. You know, it's a movie that I think a lot of people want to see, but I also see the potential of the execution not being so great. It's got to be a good movie. And if it's a good movie, it'll be a great movie. And if it's a great movie, it'll make a lot of money. And but it's hard to say because just seeing one picture of a little maquette, which is going to be a full-size puppet that a performer's going to wear, one of those suits, one of those animal suits, it looks like it's going to be good. And if the creature shop's involved, you know that those things are going to look great. But we'll see where it goes. But I'm going to say 150 million, October 2023. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings, kind souls, however you identify across the 28 known galaxies, this is the end of the last John Campea Show mailbag. There will not be any more. However, we're going to replace it with something that we will tell you about in the near future. Something you will be excited for. I'm excited for it. And I'm not going to tell you what it is right now. I want to thank everybody for generously supporting this channel via super chats and tips and memberships and all those things, and sending us all of your great comments and letters. I will miss reading them on the mailbag, but hey, you can still get to us every day on the John Campea Show when we open up the super chats. And thanks all of you on a personal note for being very nice to me in these chats and in your comments. I very much appreciate that. It leaves me with a little skip in my step as opposed to being morose and in the dumps every day like Ray is. Yeah. Right, Ray? Yes, sir. But thanks for all that. And you can find me on various social media platforms. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me at postgeeksingularity.com or my YouTube channel, Postgeek Singularity. But mostly find me here on the John Campea channel. I want to thank Ray Ora for always being there with the kind word and the laugh. I know if I'm doing well, if he laughs at me. And I want to thank Jonathan Voico, the producer, for making these mailbags so much fun to do. Boys, thanks. I hope we can continue to work together even though we're not doing these mailbags anymore. So on that note, I guess I'm actually going to say this. Bye-bye.